It's Monday, September 11th. I'm Jeff Schwartz. This is Jeff Schwartz of Smarter Than You. We're live on Twitter and YouTube and we're brought to you by Prize Picks. It's a skill-based, real money, daily fantasy sports game. Go to Prize Picks and use my code GSSY for a first deposit match up to $100. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. We're making my first selection of the season at the end of the episode for Monday Night Football, which is on a little bit later tonight. I'm joined by Gabe Goodwin, as we do on Mondays during the NFL season. Buddy, how are you? It's been a long time. I know you've been enjoying your USC football each weekend and now your NFL. And tonight, I think you're back as a Jets fan. I'm not quite sure, but your Jets are playing tonight, buddy. How are you?
My former team, my team that will not entice me no matter how much Aaron Rodgers PR you guys try to feed me through HBO. I will not fall for it. I will not go back to being a Jets fan for the 4th time in my life. I am committed to the Chargers, which is worse than being a Jets fan.
That is way worse because the Chargers always Charger. The Jets have an opportunity now to not be the Jets tonight. And we'll get to that game in a little bit, and I'll give you my prize pick selection for tonight as well. We'll preview that game. We'll talk a little bit about what we saw yesterday and maybe a little bit Thursday. Also, we'll touch on some college football here. I cover the Pac-12 Conference, but I do all college football, and we know Colorado right now is a big story. So we'll touch on everything having to do with the Pac-12 Conference, where they gave 18-3 through the first 2 weeks plus one game that was played on week 0 with USC beating who they kicked someone's butt on week 0, San Jose State. 18-3, the Pac-12 final season of the Pac-12 Conference. But let's get to the NFL from yesterday, Gabe, and you can lead us off there.
Well, so you had a bunch of picks, a couple I liked, a couple I wasn't so sure about. So take me through your record. I see 2-2, and I see a couple you really shouldn't have made.
Well, yeah, now I should have made them, but
I mean, what were you doing, New England?
New England almost covered, buddy. They lost by 5, and they had the wide receiver didn't drag his toe at the end. Otherwise, we might cover. The one I lost was Pittsburgh. Obviously, that's atrocious. But we hit Cleveland. That was fairly easy. We hit Tennessee. That was back and forth, and we have one more tonight with the Jets. So, look, the NFL is fun to wager on. I mean, we love doing it. We do it on this show. We've been doing it for years, but it is the worst also to wager on, PK, because it's a grind, man. Like each game is a sweat fest. Even games that like the Patriots game, for example, they're down 16-0, I believe, in the first quarter. I texted Matt and I was like, yep, don't have to worry about this game anymore. And then guess what happened? The game gets close to the end. You have to worry about it. They're always sweats. It's always hard in the NFL. If the Jets cover tonight, which I believe we had 2.5 when we recorded on Friday. I have it right here. We had 2.5 that will be 3-2, which I would gladly take. 3-2 each weekend. You make a lot of money in wagering. So we'll see what happens tonight. We'll get to tonight's preview, of course, in a little bit. But let's get to what we saw on Sunday, maybe a little bit on Thursday.
Well, listen, today, this very hour, the name of the game, and I've been in this game a long time, Jeff, even longer than you. The name of the game is to freak out. Let's get those lower third topic bars that call for some crazy stuff. Let's have the absolute, our pets' heads are falling off kind of reactions to week 1. I'll give you a few that could be going on right now. Should the Bengals be worried about Joe Burrow? Should Daniel Jones retire?
Yes.
Is Brandon Staley actually just AI with a glitch? These are all the kinds of questions we have to ask ourselves on the take-making shows. So, Jeff, help me out. Where should we just sort of calm the hell down, and where do we actually have some problems?
Well, I guess we can start with the kind of losing teams first, maybe here. The Bengals, remember, last season started 0-2. They lost the first game to the Steelers. I think Burrow threw 5 picks in that game, and they lost the next weekend by a couple points to someone else. And Joe Burrow missed most of training camp last year with an appendectomy. This year he missed, obviously, with a calf injury. I think the concern in Cincinnati is the offensive line again, right? I mean, the Browns, we know they can rush the passer. They've had their number for a while now. Joe Burrow has had struggle beating the Browns, but it looked even worse than I think it even played out to be. And the offensive line again becomes a concern because they brought in Orlando Brown. They're supposed to be better. They moved Williams over from right tackle, from left tackle to right tackle, and it didn't look any different. It didn't look any better. Joe Burrow yesterday, this is shocking. He was, let me pull up right here, 14 of 31, Gabe, for 82 yards. 82 yards yesterday. I know it was raining. I know he's coming back from his calf injury, but you still have Jamar Chase. You still have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. And that was a bad football game. I'm not going to panic because last season they started slow and the Browns sort of own this series right now. But it wasn't like the Chiefs lost where you're just like, yeah, Kadarius Toney catches a football at the end, the Chiefs win. We laugh about all the drops, right? 10% drops, by the way. Chiefs Lions game for the Chiefs. 10% of passes were dropped. And Mahomes didn't play terribly great either, but they had a chance to win. The Bengals had no chance. Like that, they had no chance yesterday, but I'm not going to panic about the Bengals quite yet, Gabe. Are you panicking about that?
No, I also don't have such high hopes for them. I think they're I think they're a playoff team who gets bounced in the first or second round. I don't think they're going to be on one of these magical runs again. What did surprise me, where I think freak out is probably more appropriate, is what the hell happened in New York last night.
Yeah. So did you notice that there's 3 teams in the NFC that struggled yesterday, not today, but yesterday, that were kind of the surprise darling teams in the NFC last season, right? The Vikings lost to the Bucks. Seattle got blown out by the Rams, who we laughed at in our preview episode because of their roster, and the Giants got their asses kicked. They lost 40-0. The Cowboys scored offense, defense, and special teams, and they all came back to earth, which is what we sort of said. You know, Geno Smith, guys, most of his career hasn't been the guy he was for the first half of last season, and guess what? Didn't look as good yesterday. Now they're down their tackles. Maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. But the Rams kicked their ass. And again, the Rams roster, not very good right now. They were outcoached and outplayed. Look at the Giants last night. Look, guys, they look like a team who thought because their name is the Giants and because they went to the playoffs last year and won a playoff game, they could just go on the field and just be the Giants because that's who they are and win this game. With the Cowboys played at different speed the entire game. Different speed, different physicality. And they paid Daniel Jones. I sort of get why they did that, Gabe, but they paid him off an outlier season where he wasn't even that great last year, and he looked like the old Daniel Jones last night with pressure. We know the Cowboys rush the passer very well. The Giants have spent 2 first-round picks at each tackle and then a second-round pick on a center. They got to be better on their offensive line. The Cowboys just kicked their ass, man. Like, it was ass whoop. 40-0. It's not college football. 40-0. And then Minnesota, 10-0 last season, in 1-score games in the regular season. And guess what? They lose their first 1-score game of the 2023 season. Everyone called this coming. Now, I didn't think it happened to Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. Baker Mayfield had 150 yards and won the game yesterday. But they all reverted back to the mean. The regression was coming. We've talked about this happening, and it happened all in week 1 for these 3 NFC teams.
Yeah, well, we'll do more pick talk later. I wonder about these overvalued teams at home. Just examining the number when these teams that were overachievers last year are hosting games for the first few weeks of this year. But we'll come back to that. I want to ask you, because you're good with your spoon and you know the Giants, and every time you talk about the Giants, somebody gets in your mentions and chirps at you. So I want to go back for a second. I saw some clips of basically Micah Parsons eating up 3 linemen while other guys just ran free and smashed the hell out of Daniel Jones. Is that what happened?
Well, he had his own sacks, obviously. But Parsons, man, his effort. There was one of them, the one you're mentioning. He was able to crease the left guard, and then when they ran a twist, they couldn't switch off. So as an offensive lineman, and third down, we want to set sort of shoulder to shoulder, or at least a little bit like near each other, hip to hip, maybe, because we want to be able to switch off the twist. And the only way you do that is being on the same level. So if a guy's rushing, if I'm the guard, a guy's rushing at me, I'm the left guard, I got to keep him right here. The tackle's got to be here. So I know it's not great for audio listeners, but if you stay together, when the guy loops around the other guy, you can just switch off seamlessly, right? What defensive linemen do is they get penetration up the field and they sort of split that alignment of the offensive lineman, and then you can't switch off the twist, which is what Parsons did very well. I was like, the effort of that, like, I know he didn't get the sack on that one play that we're talking about. It was in the game, but his buddy got the sack because of his effort. And that relentless effort is what you need. It's a pass rusher, because sometimes you're not going to get the glory, but your buddy does, and it works out very well. The Giants did not switch any twist off the entire game. It was just bad technique, man. Like, you know what the Cowboys are going to do, and so either you are not good enough, or you were not prepared to play. And both can be true as well. Not good enough and not prepared to play. But the Giants, it is. It's just it's not acceptable to play that way. Like it just wasn't. Everyone was bad. Everyone was bad. Special teams.
It looked like college football. You said it. Like, why are we looking at two backups? Like we're watching backup quarterbacks end the first Sunday night football game of the season because it's 40-0 in the rain. Like it looked ridiculous.
Yeah, it did. And again, it's the special teams issue and the pick six. It just was some bad football. And the Giants aren't going to be that bad this season. But I don't know why it's much of a surprise that Daniel Jones looked like Daniel Jones. I mean, that's what he's been most of his career. Last year, he only threw over 15 touchdowns last season. The Cowboys had all offseason to prepare for him.
Everyone's hoping for some sort of like Josh Allen, Dayball spike thing. I in my fantasy draft, I was thinking about it as well. Let me ask you about this because they probably shouldn't spend too much time on these guys. But obviously the Dolphins are, in the first, the A block of every take show today. And everyone's probably talking about Tua and Ty Hill and how amazing they looked in the fourth. I personally see a lot of Fitzmagic in Tua, like the yup, nope kind of plays. But he was incredible. I also have to ask, though, are you still way out on Brandon Staley? And do you think that basically the Chargers are squandering one of the best rosters in football with weird coaching?
Well, yes, on a short way. Yes, okay, right. Thanks. I mean, I think the short way to put it is yes. The Chargers are always the Chargers, and this is why you can't trust them. You're right. They have a great roster. The roster's healthy. Like it's healthy right now too.
I saw Bosa and Mack going at the same quarterback. That's pretty good.
And you have your All-Pro left tackle is back as well. Yep. And you allow 34 points, 36 points to the Dolphins, who are we came in this preview podcast. We took the Dolphins win total over. We took Tyreek Hill over. We took Tyreek Hill Offensive Player of the Year. We think they're going to be good this season, but you let them have it pretty easily. Hit over 200 yards, obviously, through the air. You did not sack Tua. Teron Armstead, the Dolphins left tackle, was out of that game. The splits when he plays and doesn't play affect the offense. The offense does not play as well when he's out. No sacks. And look, the throw Tua made on one of those Tyreek Hill home runs was incredible. On the run, maybe the best throw he's made in his entire career. He looked really good. But at the end, the final drive of the game is the perfect Chargers drive, right? You have an intentional grounding, a sack. Herbert then gets you like most of the yardage back to a manageable fourth down, immediate sack, game over. Like this is the most Chargers thing of all time. And the Dolphins helped you by missing the extra point. All you had to give was another 20 to 25 yards, kick a field goal. It would have been hilarious. Dicker, the kicker, missing that field goal would have been incredible. Either way it went. But they're just not trustworthy, right? Like the Chiefs lost against the Lions. And you're like, okay, well, that sucked, but they'll be fine. The Chargers, you're like, Chargers, they did it again. They're the Chargers. And so it's hard to believe. And plus, new offense, by the way, and Herbert still is not throwing the ball down the field. I don't know what you got to do to get him to do that, but he's got to throw the ball down the field.
Well, Quentin Johnston might be part of that plan eventually. We didn't see much of him. All right, let's talk about something more uplifting. And you previewed the Pac-12. At one point I think it was like 16-0 to start the season.
It was,
obviously some later games Saturday started to pile up some losses. But the best teams in the Pac-12 look incredible. And the most exciting team in all of sports right now is Colorado and Deion. Now, we could approach this from sort of picking and gambling angles, or we could just talk about the drama that is Deion. I think I want to start there. Geoff, this was like this giant experiment in hype. And most people didn't think it could really be as good as it has been.
Yeah.
But it's better. It's actually better. So is it all going to come crashing down to earth in 2 weeks when they go up to Eugene? Or like, could this really be a roster of players good enough to beat the top 10 teams in the country?
Probably not beat the top 10 teams in the country, but I think be very competitive. And I think this shows you a couple things here. One is that you need good football players. Like, I know that's a very cliche to say, but he brought in his son, who was a former high 4-star recruit who could have played at any one of the top 10 teams in the country, right? He brought in Travis
Hunter. Can I pause
you
there? Like, yes. Sorry, I don't know exactly the age of every good quarterback in the country right now, but like good enough to have just been the guy at FSU, like that good.
I think he could have been, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say after watching him play like at this level in 2 games, yeah, he could have played a Florida State starting quarterback. Again, I think he was like a pretty highly rated recruit
Yeah.
as a quarterback. And then Travis Hunter's incredible, right? As a former number one player in the country, cornerback, wide receiver, the pace he's playing at, don't know if he can keep that up. But we saw against Nebraska, there are still limitations on the offensive line. There's still limitations on defense. Now, Nebraska's offense is freaking atrocious. The quarterback put the ball on the ground 3 times by himself. No one touched him on the ground for Colorado to pick up. And I think when you're playing at Oregon and USC, Gabe, that's where you're really going to, the trenches, some of the other deficiencies on the roster a little bit are really going to catch up to you. However, I think Colorado's offense is here to stay. Their offensive coordinator has done a great job of just finding ways to get a lot of points and yards without having to basically make his offensive line do that for him. So Drew Sanders, if you don't get him on the ground, he's going to find someone open because they have guys in the back end of their offense, not the back end, but wide receivers that can run and that you can't guard them forever. So if he gets on the move somewhere, those guys end up being open. And so the question I have, they're going to kill Colorado State this weekend, is they're going to go to Eugene 3-0, 3-0. Game day is going to be there. Big noon kickoff. Someone's going to be there again. And you're going to play an Oregon team that played a bad game and still won at Texas Tech. Oregon's really good. Can you play with them in the trenches? Oregon has athletes to run with Travis Hunter, to run with Dylan Edwards. So what more do you have as a team? But Colorado, look, I thought they'd be 3-9. Clearly wrong about that. But again, on film, I love what they're doing offensively. They play really hard, and they have good athletes, man. Like it's why we talk about on the college football side. I know it's boring, talk about star ratings and transfer portal ratings. But for a lot of times, man, if you have good football players, you win more games than not. Look at teams around the country who've retooled in the portal. Miami beat A&M, right? Miami got much better football players this offseason. I know Mario Cristobal there. I watched them rebuild this team. He got better players, and they play better. What a surprise. Talk about Oregon, USC's defense, right? USC has better football players. Now, they played 3 schmucky offenses, but eventually you're going to have to play someone better. But nonetheless, you should play well against bad offenses, right? You should. And they look better because they have better football players. That's an important part of this. And Colorado has brought in better football players all over the football field. And Dion has brought in good coaches. Part of being a good coach, right, is bring in good assistants. That's part of the job. You don't have to be the guy that calls the plays. You don't have to be the guy that's in charge of even one side of the ball, one unit of the ball. Just be the coach. Hire good. He hired Sean Lewis. He hired Charles Kelly. The DC was at Alabama. He's hired good coaches. That's important. And all the best coaches in the country have hired that. I was wrong. I thought I've been wrong about Colorado a lot, but I thought this would be the end of this year, the way they played. Not really now. I thought next year they would win 9 or 10 games. But I don't win 9 or 10 games this year, in my opinion. But bowl, they'll be 3-0 with still games against Stanford left, Arizona State, and Arizona. And they pull one upset off. They still have Oregon, USC, UCLA, Oregon State, Washington, Utah. Those are all the ranked Pac-12 teams at the moment. There's 8 of them, including Colorado. So it's a tough schedule, but 6-6 I think is pretty doable. And if they're 6-6, man, Dion might win Coach of the Year.
I like after all that the surprise for a lot of listeners would be 6-6 is a realistic projection. Right now, I think the talk is they're winning the national championship, and you're saying no. Come on.
They played teams that TCU. Look, the TCU game was incredible win for them. They should have allowed 56 points. They had 2 red zone interceptions. Now, I don't want to take it away from Travis Hunter, who made an incredible interception. So maybe it's 49 points they allowed, right? Not 56. But the thing about college football that we overlook and maybe underlook is that you should dominate teams that are bad if you're a good football team. And that's what Colorado is doing so far. But there also is the test of playing better football teams, right? And that is we see a lot of college football when you play that good team for the first time, you're just sort of not ready because you haven't played that physicality yet or those style of player yet. And I'm not sure Colorado's played that. That's why 6-6 to me is like the perfect number for them, not 10-2 because of the rest of the conference that they have to play in. And so when Colorado looked up right now, they played. So TCU, look, TCU, and I knew that, but they're 35th in efficiency. Nebraska's 72nd. Right, Colorado right now, efficiency numbers take a little bit of time to catch up to transfer portal teams, essentially. But look, they have Oregon, got USC coming up. We'll know more about them in a couple weeks. They're going to smoke Colorado State. Colorado State's not very good. It'll be 3-0. Someone's coming to Oregon. Game day or big noon kickoff. I don't know who has that game. I think we actually find out today who will have that game on TV. Maybe both will show up. I don't know. That'd be pretty
Jeff,
funny to have.
If neither of them show up, Jeff Schwartz is smarter than you, is putting on a show there. We got to be there.
Can they have? I know you're kind of in this, in the media world. Can both be there at the same time? You like two.
I don't believe that's happened. That maybe I know what the big neutral site setups, championship games, bowl games. I'm sure they accommodate two giant crews coming and building two separate sets, but I can't think of a time when on campus two different networks sent their flagship show. I think also, I don't even know if it's like a rules or I think it's just logistically and politically difficult.
Yeah, especially in Eugene. I do feel bad for Illinois, by the way, who is hosting Penn State this weekend, and big noon kickoff was supposed to go there, and they actually announced it, and then they're like, nope, we're going to Colorado again.
Well, that's a party.
I mean, sorry, Illinois. We want to go back to Boulder. Deion gives them good access, man. Of course they want to do that. So
he turned he turned it into an event. I mean, look, if they make it through Eugene, so let's give them the win at CSU, then they get to Eugene and they win.
Oh my God!
Now they're sitting at 4-0 with USC coming to town. That will be the biggest
game in Colorado. It might be one of the biggest games since 1991 for Colorado. Like, it'd be incredible.
Yeah, I already emailed my ticket guy, Jeff. I'm going. You can come with me. If I get a ticket, you're in.
Oh, you're going? Are you going to Boulder?
If we're both undefeated and going to Colorado, I'm going, and you're coming with.
Ooh,
let's talk about
that, guys. He's that ticket guy.
You got a ticket guy. Yeah. Let's talk about back to the NFL. We'll switch from these great college players to guys who just popped out of college with high expectations. We got 3 first-round rookie quarterbacks. Smart people like you, Jeff, should have known not to bet on rookies or make picks or selections or entries on rookies.
I did.
But okay, well, good. Then way to be wise and advise your audience. None of them covered. Tough starts, I would say. So I'm gonna ask you to grade CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson on a scale from meh to, I don't know, maybe somewhere on that spectrum.
Well, you have to grade their opponent, right? So Anthony Richardson, I thought, played decent, right? I mean, he's 24 of 37 for 233 and rushed for 40 yards. I expect him to rush for a little bit more. He's got I think afterwards I saw a report that Trevor Lawrence was like, dude, you got to stop getting hit so much, because he got crushed there on that final couple plays before the end of the game. I think it's like a C, right? I think he did pretty well.
A C, okay. A C, yeah, that's not terrible.
But again, it feels like grade. It feels like hard to judge. Bryce Young was 20 of 38 for 146, a very Russell Wilson-esque passing line there. And he's not a running quarterback, so his rushing doesn't matter to me. 2 interceptions. He had some bad throws. C-, I think. His offensive line didn't give him much help. It wasn't the best performance. And I have not watched Houston and Baltimore yet. It's not on my high to-do list at this exact moment.
Save your spoon work for that one.
But 28 of 44 for Stroud, 242, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean, passing grade, I guess. No turnovers, only 9 points, obviously. He had the toughest matchup, right, with that Baltimore defense. So, good. I think decent start for all of them. Look, it's hard to grade them so early in their careers, obviously, because they're all in different situations. But I think all three at various moments, I saw some highlights of Stroud, look competent, right? They look like they belong. It didn't overwhelm anyone, which I think is pretty important, that they didn't look lost in week 1.
Okay, well, then I'm going to squeeze one more name in here.
Okay.
He's not a rookie, but it kind of, in a way, was like a rookie performance. Jordan Love.
Yeah, we're good, right? I think if you're a Packers fan, you feel pretty happy in the organization's decision to finally go to Love. He just looked really comfortable. He made some really good throws. He protected the football. He ran the offense really as designed. It was a very impressive performance from him. And they had an okay rushing day. Like, it's not like they ran the ball terribly well that really helped the offense. It was Jordan Love a lot of times making plays. On the flip side, Gabe, when are we gonna just admit maybe Justin Fields is not very good? Like,
I'm there.
is there a time to do that? Because he's now started 21 games, I think.
Yeah.
Jordan Love has started 2, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
And like when are we just gonna be like, yeah, Fields just like, no, it's just not good. Because I feel like for him, we keep making the excuses about just in general, like him having to play with a different offensive line. He has started 26 football games. Fields has. Jordan Love has started 2. Like, when are we just going to be like, you know what, Fields maybe just not that good?
Yeah, I'm okay with that already. I mean, he's the kind of guy who maybe gets paired with the right offensive coordinator and gets the right weapon. It was an easy take yesterday. My job's to just point out the takes and for you to tear them apart. I think I saw a lot of like, well, if this guy had Ty Hill, imagine what he could do, and that's like kind of an easy way out of everything.
Great, but
but that's the point. If Justin Fields had Tyreek Hill and an offensive line that maybe could give him a little bit more time, or they could draw some better plays for him, maybe he'd suddenly be a top 15 quarterback.
Yeah. The thing that I just don't know if we have, again, those passing plays, not the running plays where he's great, but like the consistent passing, like, oh man, this is really good, right? Like we don't have that sort of consistency with Fields. He's, again, 26 games now he started. Like that's nearly 2 seasons worth of games now. Yeah.
Well, we get our first look at a guy with plenty of sample size, but a brand new home. Big dramatic start to Aaron Rodgers' Jets career on Monday Night Football, which I believe just a few minutes ago we learned any of these cable issues that some people were experiencing have been cleared up. So everyone who wants to watch Monday Night Football should be able to see it. Geoff, I would like you to give me your 2 or 3 square entry for tonight's Monday Night Football game, Bills at Jets.
Yeah.
Give me your picks, and then let's talk it through.
Okay, so we're partnering with Prize Picks, everybody. Use the code GSSY for a first deposit match up to $100. What you do is you go in the app, you put together between 2 and 6 plays, essentially, in a grouping, and you pick whether it's going to go not over and under, but whether it's going to go more or less. All right, so more or less. And I'm going to pull my entry right now because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a huge game. I know that hurts your heart there, Gabe. I still think that you're a Rodgers guy. I'm going to pretend that you're still a Jets fan, which I think you are. So Rodgers is I have 232.5 yards. I have more for Aaron Rodgers than that. I think he's just going to have a good game. The thing about Buffalo that I'm worried about still is their pass rush. And I know there's some questions about the Jets offensive line, but Dwayne Brown being back is a big deal for them. It allows them to move guys back to right tackle and sort of settle that offensive line down. The Bills' pass rush is a problem, Gabe. They're not able to rush the pass. Problem last year, and no Von Miller. I think Rodgers will be able to sit back there. And there's also, with the Giants losing last night, this is like the Jets' time to own New York. Yes or no? Are you in on the Jets owning New York right now?
I mean, I don't know how many different times I've been told that, Geoff. I'm sorry. You're talking to the wrong guy. I'm the most skeptical Jets viewer there is on earth.
You're the most skeptical Jets viewer there is on earth. Okay, good to know.
But I didn't say fan. I'm not a fan. I don't believe in them ever anymore.
I like Aaron Rodgers more than 232.5 passing yards. I don't care what you say, Gabe. The other one with that is Garrett Wilson more than 6 receptions. Because if Aaron Rodgers is going to play well, guess what? So is Garrett Wilson. And we're high on Garrett Wilson on this podcast. We have his over for the season. And the last one I'm going with, just because a little bit of a homer pick, but I think that the Bills are going to use him a lot, is Dalton Kincaid, more than 2.5 receptions. They're brand new tight end out of Utah. All he did to your Trojans last year was catch 25 passes in 2 football games. And this is more of a little bit of a trolley pick for you as well. But I think they're going to use him a lot in this game. He's always open. like he's a guy that you want in situations to throw the ball to because he just gets open. He finds a place in the defense to make some magic. So I'm going more. I'm going three mores, right? Aaron Rodgers over 232.5 passing yards. Garrett Wilson, his wide receiver, is number one, over 6 receptions. Excuse me, more than 6 receptions. And Dalton Kincaid more than 2.5 receptions. What do you think? I have the Jets winning this game, Gabe. What do you think?
I think I like all of that. Well, I don't like it, but it's all very effectively trolling me. Kincaid, who knows? I think by the end of the year, that guy's probably the best receiving weapon they have because Diggs doesn't seem like he's totally bought in. And yeah, I have witnessed how constantly open and hard to tackle Dalton Kincaid is. I believe in him. I took him in my league. Putting those three together seems doable. I think if you're assuming that the Jets win, that Rodgers has a big day, then Garrett Wilson obviously has to come along for the fun. I just don't see the Jets winning. So, you know, the weather report would be helpful to see. It was rainy last night. Question is, how will it be tonight? Yeah. You haven't mentioned this. People who like to make picks and entries will be thinking about this. Obviously, it's September 11th in New York. It'll be an emotional night. It's always a big night at that stadium. It'll be a meaningful night for a lot of the people in the organization. When I make certain selections, people try to factor that in. Do you think that kind of emotion, as a former player and a guy who played in New York, do you think that kind of emotion actually has an impact on the home team?
Not to, make not to joke about that, but like the Giants last night lost 40-0 and they honored 9/11 victims last night. That
it's not a factor, is what you're saying.
If you as a player sort of need that to play in week one, you're probably not ready to play football, right? The Giants tribute last night was fantastic. They always do it right. I assume tonight the tribute that was done in MetLife Stadium is going to be fantastic. It'll be touching. It'll be exactly what it has to be. And then you'll play football. Like it's not, and also, I mean, you can make the case like the Buffalo Bills players, right? Like they're going to probably get emotional in that moment too. It's not just, I don't think those things change. Now, I do think sometimes if it's like a player related, like sometimes, they have, games where you're honoring a player or, a certain, I don't know. Sometimes I think it might matter. Do you think that, the Katrina game for the Saints, I feel like that's sort of the crowd atmosphere, Gabe, probably helped them a little bit, right? Just being back at home, the crowd was, people have talked about the crowd just being like out of control and the emotion of being back home. But the crowd is not going to be that way tonight. It's not one of those events where like the crowd's going to be extra cheerful tonight. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to be extra cheerful because Aaron Rodgers is there. And they have a much better chance to win. So I don't think it will change much of how players play tonight.
Yeah, I like to ask you because you played in that city, and you've been through nights like that with the Giants. So I figured it was worth getting your read.
By the way,
what is your
very quickly? Ask and we shall receive. Colorado, Oregon, 3:30 Eastern, ABC on Saturday, September 23rd. How about that? There we go. We have an answer already.
All right, we already have the answer. So ABC. Yeah. So that would suggest one network over the other, but we'll see. Yeah. All right, back to Jets Bills for a second. So I think most people pencil the Bills into a second round, at least playoff appearance, maybe an AFC championship game, sort of trying to breathe a Bills Chiefs rivalry into existence. I know you get that in your timeline. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, people want to imagine that the Jets are in that same conversation. We just saw the Dolphins look incredible and beat a team I think could be the best team in the AFC. So shake it all out for me with most of the data in after week one. AFC champ, who do you think?
Well, I picked the Bengals to win the AFC, so it doesn't look so great right now. Look, I mean, if Tua stays healthy, the Dolphins are in great position, right? They're already one game up now in Kansas City and Cincinnati, and they are one game up now, really 2 games up, because a tiebreaker with the Chargers. Like I'll give Miami some love here. But the Chiefs, I mean, come on, like they catch a couple footballs, they win that game, and we're not talking about them in this light at all. So
Yeah,
yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
All right, so we got your square entry for tonight. Can you give me a little quick recap on that and remind people the promo code, please?
Yes. So go to Prize Picks and use the code GSSY for your first deposit. Match up to $100. You put together between 2 and 6 players, whether they will have more or less than their number for certain things, right? Receiving yards, rushing yards, receptions, many different ways to go. I put together a 3-pack tonight. You ready? Aaron Rodgers, more than 232.5 passing yards. I think he has a big night tonight. Worried about the Bills' pass rush being able to really change the game. Jets' offensive line very settled down now with Dwayne Brown at left tackle. I have his mate, Garrett Wilson, his number one wide receiver. We know over the years that Aaron Rodgers likes to force the number one wide receiver the ball. I have more than 6 receptions, and Dalton Kincaid, the Bills' tight end, more than 2.5 receptions. He is a guy who's always open. I watched him do this at Utah, and I think at moments tonight when the Jets' pass rush is closing in on Josh Allen, he will find Dalton Kincaid for those at least 3 receptions. So that's what I have for my Prize Picks. Again, promo code GSSY. And we'll do this every Monday. We're going to choose a Prize Picks score entry for every Monday football game. I'm looking forward to doing this each season long. There's another way to do it. My fantasy team sucked yesterday, Gabe. So I need a good night for my Prize Picks.
Sorry to everyone who Graham Gano lost a league for. I just want to remind people this will be another season of me evangelizing the idea that we cancel kickers. My league, Geoff, added kickers, I think just to spite me. I now have to have a kicker on my fantasy roster. What?
The league we're in, or are you a different league?
I'm in a different league, Geoff. Yeah, the audiences probably would like to know that Geoff has joined a league with me and several of our colleagues.
Yes.
Geoff, I like Geoff's team. I wish I could make fun of Geoff's team. I actually kind of like it.
It's a good team. The problem is, this is my beef with fantasy football. So, and I get why people do it. It's fun, right? It is what it is. I gamble. People play fantasy. It is what it is. Like, it doesn't correlate oftentimes to like winning and losing. Like, it just, the Cowboys won 40-0, Gabe, and Dak Prescott got me 6 points. I did an interview last night on fantasy radio. Great. Those guys were awesome. They said, Justin Fields, man, good fantasy day. Okay, he played terribly. Like, the team got their asses kicked. Like, I get it. Sometimes it doesn't correlate with winning, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot.
Well, that's why we're here, because you don't have to worry about the whole league and every situation. If tonight you just make your Prize Picks, you got to understand how one game is going to play out, and the logic of how you made your picks tonight is very strong.
And I lost to Hank in week 1.
Hey, God, you should have led with that. Okay, that's very bad.
Well, doesn't Hank have a joint team? Or isn't he one of the people in the league has a joint team?
I don't know. I have a joint team. I'm happy to admit.
Why do you have a joint team?
Administrative support.
All right. Well, you guys have supported this podcast long enough for today. We'll be back later in the week to do our podcast where we talk about the wagering and the fun parts of the weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Please, you can rate and review and subscribe. We love when you hit that subscribe button and leave us a review and on your favorite podcast platform of choice. We'll continue to post these on YouTube and on Twitter throughout the season. Hope you guys enjoy the new format. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll be back later in the week with our gambling picks. Take care, everybody.